The smell of damp earth and manure. That's what my life was supposed to be about now. Morning started before the sun, with the crow of Old Red, our rooster, and the lowing of the cows wanting to be milked. My hands, once calloused from things I don't talk about, were now calloused from mending fences, gripping a pitchfork, and holding the reins of my stubborn mule. Betsy. My name's John. Most folks around here in Willow Creek just knew me as the quiet man who'd bought the old Henderson place a few years back. They saw me at the feed store, sometimes at the diner for an early breakfast. They'd nod, say, "Mornin', John," and I'd nod back. I liked it that way. Simple. Sarah, my wife, she loved it too. Our two kids, Emily, who was 10 and sharp, as a tack, and little Tom, just 6 and full of mischief, they thrived out here. Clean air, open spaces, a life far removed from before. Before, I was someone else. Someone whose name wasn't really John, not the John they knew. Before, my world was dust and shouts, the crack of gunfire, the metallic taste of fear, and the heavy weight of responsibility for men's lives. Delta Force Commander. It feels like a dream now, a lifetime ago. I buried that man deep, deep under the rich soil of our farm, hoping he'd never need to claw his way out. Most days it worked. I'd watch Tom chase chickens or help Emily with her math. Sarah would hum in the kitchen, and a peace I'd never thought possible would settle over me. But sometimes, late at night, when the house was still, and the only sound was the crickets, the old instincts would stir. A floorboard creaking would have me bolt upright. The shadow of a branch swaying outside the window would look, for a split second, like a man. I'd force it down, breathe deep the scent of lavender Sarah kept by the bed, and tell myself I was just John, the farmer. Last Tuesday started like any other. Milked the cows, mucked out the stalls, fixed a section of fence Tom had tried to climb and busted. The sun was warm, the sky a perfect cloudless blue. Emily was home from school, chattering about a history project, and Tom was helping me by mostly getting underfoot, his little face smudged with dirt. Sarah brought us lemonade out in the field. It was perfect. The kind of perfect that almost hurts because you know how fragile it is. That night we ate dinner, laughed at Tom trying to tell a joke he didn't quite understand, and tucked the kids into bed. Sarah and I sat on the porch swing for a bit, watching the stars pop out one by one. "It's a good life, isn't it, John?" she murmured, leaning her head on my shoulder. "The best," I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. We went to bed around 10. I was tired, the good kind of tired that comes from honest work. I drifted off quickly. What woke me wasn't a loud noise. It was a wrongness, a shift, in the familiar sounds of the night. The crickets had gone silent. The old house, usually full of groans and sighs as it settled, was too quiet. My eyes snapped open in the dark. Years of training, buried but not gone, surged to the surface. I didn't move, didn't even breathe differently. I just listened. A faint scrape from downstairs, like a boot on the wooden floor of the kitchen, trying to be quiet, but failing. My heart, which usually beat with the slow, steady rhythm of a farmer, began to pound with the hard, urgent thrum of a soldier. Sarah stirred beside me. I put a hand gently on her arm. She knew. In that one touch, she knew. The fear that flashed in her eyes in the dim moonlight from the window cut me deeper than any blade ever could. I slid out of bed, silent as a shadow. My old life hadn't given me much, but it had taught me how to move. Downstairs. How many? Where were the kids? Emily's room was at the front of the house, Tom's next to ours. Another sound, a muffled voice, then another. 2, maybe 3, my mind was racing, but it was a cold, clear race. No panic, just assessment, planning, action. The farmer was gone. The commander was back, and he was raw with a fury born of love and terror for his family. I didn't have weapons here, not the kind I used to carry. My only weapon was a heavy iron poker by the fireplace downstairs, and a hunting rifle locked in the gun safe, useless in this moment. My hands would have to do. My body, my will. I motioned for Sarah to stay, to be quiet. Her eyes were wide, tears welling. I saw her reach under the bed, where we kept an old, heavy flashlight. Good girl. I crept to our bedroom door, eased it open. A crack. The hallway was dark. I could hear them moving in the kitchen, the clink of something, cutlery maybe. They were clumsy, amateurs, but even amateurs with bad intentions could hurt my family. And that was not going to happen. I moved down the hallway, bare feet making no sound on the worn wooden planks. The kids' doors were closed. Thank God. I reached the top of the stairs. Peering down, I saw a flicker of a flashlight beam dancing around the living room, then moving towards the base of the stairs. One man silhouetted. He was looking around, probably for valuables. He looked jumpy. He started up the stairs, 1 step, 2. He was coming right to me. There was no time for anything fancy. As his head cleared the top step, before he could even register my presence in the deeper shadows, I moved. It wasn't a thought, it was pure reflex. I lunged, one hand clamping over his mouth, stifling his surprised yelp, the other driving my elbow into his temple. He went limp, a dead weight. I lowered him gently to the floor, not wanting the thump to alert the others. One down. I could hear another one in the kitchen, opening and closing drawers. "Anything, Mike?" A gruff voice called, not too loudly. "Nah, nothing yet, boss," another voice replied from the living room. So at least 2 more. Just looks like some broke farmer's place. Broke farmer. The words almost made me smile. A grim, cold thing. They had no idea. I moved back down the stairs, hugging the wall. The one in the living room, boss, was rummaging through Sarah's writing desk. He had his back to me. The kitchen door was ajar. I could see the other one, Mike, peering into the pantry. I went for the boss first. He was bigger, seemed like the leader. Again, speed and surprise. I crossed the living room in 3 silent strides. As he turned, sensing something, I was already on him. My left hand shot out, fingers jabbing into his throat just below the Adam's apple. He gagged, eyes bulging. As he clawed at his neck, my right fist connected with his jaw. A sickening crunch, and he crumpled. 2 down. Mike in the kitchen heard the commotion. "Boss, what was that?" He came out of the pantry, a cheap-looking handgun in his hand, held awkwardly. He looked young, scared, and now very confused. He saw me then standing over his fallen leader. His eyes widened. He raised the gun, fumbling. This was the dangerous part. A panicked man with a gun is unpredictable. I didn't charge. I used the only thing I had, the room itself. I kicked an ottoman towards him. It wasn't meant to hit him hard, just to distract, to break his line of sight for a split second. It worked. As he flinched, I moved, low and fast. He fired. The shot was wild, shattering a vase on the mantelpiece. The sound was deafening in the small house. Upstairs, I heard Tom cry out. Emily shrieked. That sound, my children's fear, fueled a cold rage in me. I reached him before he could fire again. I grabbed his gun hand, twisting his wrist with a force that made bone grind. He screamed, dropping the gun. I didn't stop. A knee to his groin, followed by a palm heel strike to his nose. He went down, sobbing and clutching himself. Silence. Except for the whimpering of the last man and the terrified cries of my children from upstairs. "Sarah!" I called, my voice hoarse. "It's okay. Stay with the kids." I quickly checked the 3 men. The first one was still unconscious. The boss was out cold too, jaw likely broken. Mike was curled up, moaning. I used their own belts to tie their hands behind their backs, pulling them tight. Then I went upstairs, my heart still hammering, but the cold precision ebbing away, replaced by a wave of exhaustion and dread. Sarah was huddled in the doorway of Emily's room, both kids clinging to her. Emily was crying silently, her small body trembling. Tom was wailing. "It's over," I said, my voice gentle now, the farmer returning, though shaken. "It's okay. You're safe." I knelt and pulled them all into a hug. Ira held on to me so tight I could feel her heart pounding against mine. Emily buried her face in my chest. Tom's cries slowly subsided into hiccups. We called Sheriff Brody. He arrived with 2 deputies looking grim. He knew me as John, the quiet farmer. When he saw the 3 men trussed up and battered, and the damage to my living room, his eyebrows shot up. "John," he said, after he'd taken our statements, and the ambulance had carted the intruders away. You handled yourself pretty well for a farmer." I just shrugged, looking at the floor. "Had to protect my family, Sheriff." He nodded slowly. "Right. Well, looks like these boys picked the wrong farmhouse." He didn't press. Maybe he saw something in my eyes, a flicker of the man I used to be. Or maybe he just respected a man's right to defend his home. The next few days were hard. The kids were jumpy. Sarah barely slept. The piece of our farm felt tainted, violated. The neighbors brought pies and casseroles, their faces a mixture of concern and curiosity. They'd heard snippets. They looked at me a little differently now. Still John the farmer, but maybe John the farmer who wasn't to be trifled with. I mended the broken vase, or rather, Sarah found a new one. I repaired the screen door they'd jimmied. Life had to go on. I threw myself back into the rhythm of the farm, needing the mindless physical work. But something had changed. The commander hadn't fully retreated. He was closer to the surface now, a watchful presence just beneath the quiet farmer's skin. I didn't want him there, not really. I craved the simple peace I'd fought so hard to build. A week later, Sarah found me sitting on the porch long after the sun had set, just staring out into the darkness. She sat beside me, took my hand. Her touch was warm, steady. "You saved us, John," she said softly. I squeezed her hand. "I'll always save you." "I know," she whispered. "But are you okay?" I looked at my hands, the farmer's hands, now also. The hands that had fought in the dark. "I don't know, Sarah. I just wanted to be John the farmer, just that." She leaned her head on my shoulder, just like she had on that peaceful night that now felt so long ago. "You are John the farmer," she said. "You're the man who loves this land, who loves his children, who loves me. And if sometimes you have to be someone else to protect all that, then that's okay too, because that someone else is also you, and he's part of why we're all still here, safe." Her words settled something in me. Maybe she was right. Maybe I couldn't bury that other man completely. Maybe he was part of me, a guardian watching over the farmer, the husband, the father, a reluctant warrior forever longing for peace, but always ready. The crickets were singing again. Old Red would crow in a few hours. The cows would need milking. My family was asleep inside, safe. And I, John, was on watch, a farmer, yes, but also a protector. And maybe, just maybe, that was okay.